How you set it up?
Something like have like
There's a gap.
I've been waiting to do that for a while.
Good evening. If I could ask everyone to please find a seat, or I'll hit my gavel again. Thank you. So I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Rutherford Board of Education for Monday, June the 3rd, 2019. As is tradition, all of our meetings, I'd like to start by asking everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll? The roll, please.
Sure, Mrs. Ahmed?
Here.
Dr. Olati?
Here.
Mr. Healy?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mrs. Librera?
Here.
Mr. Mazzone?
Here.
Dr. Racine?
Here.
Mr. Rowland?
Here.
Mr. McLean? You have a quorum.
Thank you. In accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law or Act, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Rutherford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time placed on the bulletin board outside the Borough Clerk's office, mailed to the Herald, South Bergenite, and Record newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Hard copies of the agenda are available in the meeting room, and the agenda has been posted electronically on the Friday before the meeting date on the district's website at www.rutherfordschools.org. Taping and broadcasting of the meetings, the regular meetings of the Rutherford Board of Education will be broadcast without editing during a 2-hour segment as limited by Comcast time constraints on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. on Comcast Public Access Channel and on FiOS Channel 38. A video of this meeting can also be viewed on our website at www.rutherfordschools.org. The video link can be found by opening the Board of Education link, clicking on Public Meetings, and then Videos. Any member of the public who wishes to view a DVD of the meeting can make that request by writing to the Board Secretary. So with that, I'd like to start by approving the minutes of our May 13th meeting and executive session. But before that's done, does any board member have a comment?
I just want to move it. So move.
Okay, I'd like to move this.
Yeah.
Moved. Very good. With that being submitted, I'd like to now move into some presentations. So I'm very grateful to see such a great turnout. It's not often. I'm usually here looking at Mr. Met and a few tumbleweeds and some concerned citizens, but it is great to see a turnout like we have this evening. We have the Student Recognition Awards as well as our facilities plan. So I'd like to start by having Mr. Hurley start with the recognition awards.
Thank you. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and recognize a true Rutherfordian who passed this past week, Barbara Bennett, who was the Director of Recreation for 25 years. Her children all went through school here. I had the pleasure of coaching them and teaching them and being principal for them while they were here. And Barbara, certainly, I don't think there's a person in Rutherford under the age probably of about 30, or maybe a little older, who didn't participate in some program that Mrs. Bennett had a hand in. So I'd like to take a short moment of silence for Barbara Bennett. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Mr. Maison if he would take the certificates up to the front, and maybe could get, maybe our student rep could help him with distributing them. It's our last meeting, Ms. Lasky. And there's a lot of names to call. I know probably some of the students are not going to be here, and we'll just get this certificate to them in school later in the week. I ask if you could hold applause because there's about 80 or 90 names to call. And I'm going to apologize right now to everybody whose name I mispronounced, which will probably be, I said there's about 80 names. I'll probably mispronounce about 74 of the names. The audio is never that great here. No offense, Mr. Met, but the acoustics, right? So you won't hear the name mispronounced, okay? You'll know it's your name. From the high school, we had many students, and from the middle school, but we're starting with the high school, selected to Bergen County Choir and North Jersey Region Choir. And Bergen County is, as you know, a very large county with about 60 school districts. So to be selected to those two choirs is quite an honor, and also to be the North Jersey is even a bigger area. So from the high school, selected to Bergen County choirs, Joanna Calvo. If I call your name, come on up and get your certificate. Gabriela Campos, Kira Chiaffi, Justin Esposito, Russell Gomez Martinez, Paige Holman, Jinsho Kim, Maggie Lasky, who's serving dual role of the assistant and getting her certificate, Megan Lickenberg, Isabella Macasset, Stacy Shang, John Sulain, Alexandra Szymanski, and Skylar Wadzinski. Those are the Bergen County choirs, so a round of applause for them. I should have prefaced my remarks by saying that the students we're honoring tonight were won or achieved at either a county, northern New Jersey, or state, a national level. We've had lots of our students who earned awards in Rutherford, in the schools, but these students really went beyond the region. Okay? From the high school, in the North Jersey Region 1 Choir, again, a bigger area, Joanna Calvo, Russell Gomez Martinez, Isabella Macasset, and John Sulain. So congratulations to them. Staying with the high school, we had a regional competition for the FBLA, which is the Future Business Leaders Association, and we had several students who won in areas in terms of business communication or business procedures or personal finance. And they are Amaya Paskis, I need my glasses, so Kushi Hemarajani, Catherine McCarthy, Madison Famey, Virgil Minnick, and Cooper Toomey. Congratulations. Another group from the high school, the Family Consumer Career Leaders Association. That's for those of us who are a little more seasoned in life. That used to be home economics in terms of textiles and cooking and things of that nature. We have a large number of students who took first place in the northern region, first place in the state, gold medals in the state, silver medals in the state. It's a long list I'm going to read, but it speaks very well to these students and also to the instructor and the advisor, Ms. Jerry Howard. So here we go. Ezra Baladimaj, Maggie Lasky, Eamon Sheikh, Carolyn Marone, Emma Souza, Gianna Soriano, Si-Yeon Kim, Camille Lansing, Emma Wong, Katie McCarthy, Carolyn McCarthy, Gabriella Centurion, Morgan Akula, Megan Chow, Grace Killen, Amanda Rapasso, Carolyn McCarthy, once again, I'm sorry we didn't put these all together, but Carolyn, you got to come back up for another one. Megan Chow again, Amanda Raposo, Emma Wong, Emily Weber, Kira Yablonsky, Emily Weber in another category, Kira Yablonsky in another category, Si-Yeon Kim, and Camille Langsing. Those are the students who represented Rutherford High School and won either gold or silver or bronze on the state level in family consumer science. So congratulations. A winner of the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, who won the Gold Key. That's a competition that's both statewide and national-wide. Dana Soria. Second place in the Group 5 Northern Bergen County Math Competition, Ilgar Satici. Our Consumer Bowl team came in second in Bergen County, competing against all the schools in the county. And the winners, that team members who took second, those team members who took second, Zach Boyabidi, Tony DeSalvo, Kushi Emiraji, Dominic Moro, and Virgil Minnick. The New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association started a new program this year called Student Athletic Advisory Council, and they selected ambassadors to represent the county. We were fortunate at the counties, I should say, around the state. We were fortunate to have one of our students serve on that council, and she has a multi-year term, so she'll be on it again next year and the following year. Megan Leichenberger. The PTA runs a local every year competition, but this year reflections for art, literature, music, and we always have a lot of winners and we recognize them at the school level. But this year we had a first place New Jersey state winner and a national level honorable mention in music, Sean Canine. Sean Canine. The next group of students, although this activity takes place out of school, so much of what they do reflects on their character in the building, and often the projects that they work on are connected to the school climate. So we're pleased to recognize two students who earned Eagle Scout designation with the Boy Scouts, and that's Christopher Arce and Kieran McQuaid. And four young ladies who earned the Girl Scout Silver Award, which is the equivalent of the Eagle Scout, and that's Brianna Liller, Alina Masco, Catherine McCarthy, and Logan Trudell. In the middle school, at Union School, there is also a similar choir Bergen County Junior High Choir and the North New Jersey Junior High Choir. And again, we had a very strong representation in both. Selected to the Bergen County Junior Choir, Junior High School Choir, Araya Chinney, Michelle Mendaka, Amelia Perlmutter, and Nicole Sarama. And selected to the North New Jersey Junior High Choir, Danny Fensick, Michelle Mendaka, Sarah Sabia, and Elizabeth Zeidler. Also on the middle school level, the North Jersey School Music Association's Region Orchestra, which again is quite an accomplishment to be selected to the orchestra of all the schools in northern New Jersey. Elizabeth Dunlop and Danny Fensick. We have mentioned these young men, I think they're all young men, I'm looking at the list, who have represented the district in the VEX World Championship and placed, they probably know better than I, 40-something in the world, right? 40, was it? 49th? 49th in the world. Yeah. I made it 42 or something, I gave you a couple of so they're here to be recognized officially by the board. And I believe you're all in the 7th grade, is that correct? Everybody's a 7th grader? Yeah, that's, so we expect next year to at least move up to 48, right? At least. Aiden Althaus, Benjamin Bernick, Ash Jodani, Griffin King, Vidik Patel, Neil Rana, Neil Tripathi, and Sankop Tripathi. Congratulations. I think one of our
Congratulations, boys.
I think one of our Eagle Scout recipients, Mr. Arce, right? Chris Arce, just arrived. So come on over and get your award. Congratulations. I want to congratulate once again, all the students, their parents, and I also want to congratulate, it was a long list, so we didn't read through the names of the, other than Ms. Howard, who I mentioned, we didn't go through the choir directors and the band directors and the robotic instructor and the club advisors and all the teachers who work with our students to help them get to this achievement. So we, on behalf of the board, behalf of the district, we congratulate all of you and everybody who had a hand in working with you to get this done. And thank you.
Give yourself a round of applause. All right, we are going to move forward with our next presentation, and that will be the superintendent presenting our facilities plan.
Hello again. And as Mr. Maison said, it's nice to see a large crowd. And, I know that many of you, I'd like to think you're all here to hear my report on facilities, but I realize that there's other things going on tonight and other reasons why you're here. But ultimately, the plans that we put together and hopefully the community will support will impact the future of the district for the next 15, 20 plus years. So I'm glad you're all here. So you get a chance to hear it and see it, and where you can get some more information, assuming that tonight the board decides to go forward with the plan. So I know sometimes it may be difficult to see up here, Mr. Matt, do you think it helps if we put one of the lights out, or? Mr. Met is like a character in a play that nobody ever sees. He's always off stage. At every meeting we talk about him. He's in the back filming. But if you want to see him, there he is. He's the handsome man in the back working the camera. So first of all, I thank you all to come and take some time to learn more about our needs for our community schools. Last October, about 7 months ago, we went out to a referendum. The referendum, as you know, was defeated. And we heard from the community. We heard that there was very strong support for our schools. We heard that there was an understanding, there seemed to be a clear understanding of the need that we had for space and for both adding space to our buildings and improving some of the space that we had to get it more in line with contemporary standards and 21st century standards. We also heard that there was an interest in maintaining the Rutherford High School pool. The pool is housed here that has been operated by the YMCA for probably the last 15 or 20 years. There was a strong voice that said the pool should remain. And in connection with that, there was a feeling that the cafeteria and the kitchen that would have served the district perhaps wasn't as important to people as the pool was, but also may have had some other impacts on the town in terms of local eateries and the like. So we heard that, and we heard that not by just, thinking about it. We heard it by spending a good part of the last 7 months meeting in small groups, in large groups, with people that were in the community, that were part of committees, that were not part of committees, that voted, some people that had no connection with the school that we reached out to and said, come on in and tell us what you're thinking. And I'm sorry some of this isn't visible, but real needs do remain. Enrollment's up about 225 students over the past 5 years, and we projected to go up about the same amount in the next 5 years. And you can see that graph, that part of it's cut off there. I don't know if, Mr. Kelly, if we can get that lower. I don't know if the screen goes any lower, or, or it may not. Oh, there you go, it's a little better. Except it probably won't stay down there. We obviously didn't rehearse. That's all right, don't worry about it. But you can see, thank you. So you can see how the graph keeps going up. Now, to give you an example about enrollment,
That's your
the kindergarten center at Sylvan School, we have 8 classrooms there, and I think the highest enrollment we ever had was about 198, which means every class has about 25, right? Right now, we have 192 students registered for September, and normally, we pick up a lot of students. I don't even want to say the number because we're going to have to get some hammer and nails out and build a classroom. We pick up a lot of students in the summer when people move into town. So the enrollment is growing. I think it's even growing beyond what the demographic reports suggest. And beyond that, there's classroom space. We also need, we have gyms that are inadequate. We have a library that's used as a science lab. We have some science labs and some art spaces and some other areas like for theater and the like that don't really exist in some buildings. So we tried to find, through our conversations with committees and with public and with the board and with the school personnel and the like, some middle ground unity. The first is to separate the pool from the district's other needs. If a referendum goes forward, the pool is not part of this referendum. If the referendum goes forward and passes, we still need to figure out how the pool will be maintained and who's going to maintain it going forward. If the referendum should fail, we still have to figure out how to maintain and who's going to keep the pool going. So we have right now an RFP, that's a request for a proposal, out for the pool to see who's interested in coming in and managing and running the pool. And to try to highlight for you, not to spend a lot of time on this tonight, the desire of the board to make sure we kept using this word last time, sustainable pool. The RFP is asking not for a 1-year deal, but a 5-year deal, which is the longest you can make. The school board can only commit to a second party for a maximum of 5 years. So we're not looking to, get it running for a year and then move on. We're looking to get this thing to go forward, keep it going forward. we wanted to reduce the price tag, and we did. I'll talk a little more about that in a few minutes. We obviously wanted to invest in maintaining buildings, so we had to repair some things that needed to be fixed. And we wanted to focus on the core problems without major changes to non-instructional areas, meaning that we focused almost all of this on a classroom, on student space. Whether it be a gym, whether it be a science lab, whether it be expanding the multipurpose room in a building or improving the multipurpose room, adding classrooms, improving existing classrooms, that was the goal. So coming out of the old plan was the backfield here. I mean, we all felt that was important, we had to get it done, but we also knew there's not an unlimited amount of money, right? So that came out. Playgrounds came out. Maybe we'll find another way to get those playgrounds. Things that were not essential to the day-to-day instruction. So the proposal balances numerous interests to reflect the one Rutherford that we do love. I mean, you know, look at the involvement we have in the community. Look at the interest we have in the community. Look at the support that we get for the schools and that we get for these activities outside of school. So what are those things that we want to try to balance? Well, we're the Board of Education, right? The first thing is the students who are educated. That's our main priority. The residents, with or without students in school, who benefit from a community with their strong schools. I mentioned this once before, but if you think of a town that maybe you wouldn't want to move into with your family, and if you think of why, and then you think of their schools, there's a correlation with strong schools and strong community. To the taxpayers, we looked at reducing that price and doing the best we could while still not wasting money by putting a Band-Aid and not fixing a problem. And to the businesses that thrive here, going back to what I said before about the lunches and things like that. So the plan includes, among other things, okay, at Rutherford High School, 4 substandard science labs that are approaching 50 years old. That's a picture of the chemistry and physics labs in this building. Here's a thought. Those labs were redone in 1975, and they were utilized beginning in 1977. And the students who went in there where they were state-of-the-art in that first year are probably getting ready to retire, okay? Or maybe already have, because they're about 68 years old, 67 years old. Those are not the labs that we want for 21st century science. The inefficient Mortimer wing. When you leave the building tonight, look at the Mortimer wing. Forget the aesthetics of it. Look at the windows. Look at the windows that aren't there anymore, the energy that goes out, the energy that comes in, the appearance that it gives, inefficiency in terms of the environment within inside the building. That's something that this would address. We also, we were going to add more classrooms, but what we're doing here will make the classrooms we have more efficient in the new plan. At Union School, build a gym that's the right size for Union School. Because that gym is probably the smallest one we have, and maybe 40% the size of Washington and Lincoln. Convert the existing gym into 3 learning labs, which will function primarily as science labs, which they don't have. We have a middle school. We have these students, and if you go on the website, you'll see they're working on the floor. They're working in a social studies classroom. There's no science lab. And I know we can say, well, look, they're succeeding, right? What could they do? What would all of our students do if we had real labs? And the library, albeit a small one, would go back to being a library. And then the wood columns that have, with weather and age, are deteriorating. The floors, there's 10 classrooms that have floors through water damage that need to get repaired. All of that could get done in the referendum. At Pierpont, again, building a gym that is the right size, where you can fit the whole student body in. You can run physical education and health. The community can use both gyms for recreation programs, for adult school programs. The high school could use the gyms for athletic programs, and of course, you know, the use of assemblies. And I went last Thursday night to see Pierpont's play in the multi-purpose room, which is about, I don't know, maybe half the size of this room, and the stage is probably as big as the table up there. And wow, I don't know if you saw it, I thought the play was great. But imagine if they had a stage like they have at Washington, like they have at Lincoln, like they have at the high school, okay, like they have at Union in the auditorium. That gym would be a gym like Washington and Lincoln with the stage in it. So the 100 students in Pierpont's band can actually have a concert in their building. And the multi-purpose room that's currently there could be created by taking the stage out and expanding it, become a room where all the students can fit in the 2 lunch periods, where right now it's extremely tight. And it would be air conditioned, and we'd get ADA accessibility. Lincoln School put 2 classrooms on the top of the 2005 addition. Right now, that addition was built with the ability to add a level to it. So those 2 classrooms will help tremendously, because right now, every class in Washington School, every class in Lincoln School, every class in the Kindergarten Center is utilized the entire day with a maximum load of students. So when people move in, you only have the alternative of having really large classes become larger. At least the 2 additional classes could give us a little flexibility. Washington has no space to build on or build up. So the only place we could add elementary classes is here. The Kindergarten Center, we talked about this at length in the past, but 3 of the classrooms do not have the state-required bathrooms in them. Every year we have to get a waiver from the state to run full-day kindergarten. The state has made it as clear to us last fall that this was not meant to be a permanent waiver. They've given us about 5 years, and they expect us to have a plan to address this by getting bathrooms in the classroom. So this would take care of that. The nurse's office doesn't have a restroom, so if a child's in there who's sick, not feeling well, there's no restroom in the nurse's office. We'd add one there. We'd put air conditioning in the heavily used multi-purpose room. Heavily used because it's used for any of their assemblies, used for physical education, used for lunch. So the kids are in there a lot. And it's not accessible. We'd put an elevator in. It's the only building we have without an elevator that's not ADA accessible. We have this contraption, which you can see the video on the website. That's Ms. Coy, who's the supervisor who oversees the Kindergarten Center, and is essentially a chair that goes up on a tractor-like of deal up the stairs. It takes about 6 or 7 minutes probably to do all the stairs with a student with that stairwell shut down, that thing moving up. We had to get that to be ADA compliant. But thankfully, in the 5 years we've run full-day kindergarten, we haven't had to use it for a student. We haven't really had to use it. But imagine if that was your son or daughter who every day had to ride that tractor up the stairs. Or if you're an adult, a parent who wants to come and meet with the teacher. We have one of our employees, district-wide employee, who's in a wheelchair, can't really function at that school, doesn't go without going through that. So there's an investment we're asking for. We brought down a smaller scope of work with a smaller price tag. And again, I said I was going to talk a little bit about that, and I will. But the focus remained to improvements to keep Rutherford's strengths as a community that people want to come in, to keep the housing market competitive, and keep our outstanding school district as good as it is, hopefully better. That's always the goal, right? We would put a bond that'd be up to $45.3 million. The state aid would cover about a little over $9 million of that. So the local share would be about 36.3. Now, the last referendum that got defeated was $53 million, and we cut $12 million from that. So you say, I was an English teacher, but the math should be better than that, right? 12 million minus 53. But here's the thing. When the referendum was defeated, in the ensuing year, things go up in price. And one of the things that really impacted it were tariffs that were not in effect when we did the estimates previously. So we cut $12 million in project from last time, but it equates, because of the increase in prices, to be about $9 million. One of the things is that, if in your own house, right, in your own budgets, if sometimes you put something off, you wind up paying more for less. And again, we're looking at markets that keep going up. The state funding, if you had a pie chart, it would look like that. And it helps makes payments on bond, but only if a bond gets approved. So when you look at maintenance, every year we have a capital budget, but we have a 2% cap on our budget, which would be on the tax levy of the budget, with sometimes a few allowable increases to maybe if you're lucky, you get to 2.5 or something like that. So you're adding about $700,000 in total, maybe $800,000 total to the budget every year, and that has to cover all increases in salary, all increases in benefits, everything that we have to spend money on has to be, that increases gets covered by that. So you can't really do a whole lot of major capital improvements. We do roofs every year, and we fix windows, and we do certain painting and things, but it's hard to invest the kind of money that's needed when you have to expand classrooms or build classrooms. And the other thing is, the state doesn't give you any relief on your budget. In fact, they put a cap on it and restrict it. But when you go through a referendum, you get up to 40%, depending on the scope of the project. So maintenance budgets are 100% locally funded. Maintenance in bond budgets can be up to 40% state funded. So the timeline. We did our research and consideration before and after the 2018 vote. That's already done. The state has verified its contribution. We have that $9.3 million figure that I gave to you. And the state has also approved our plans as being educationally adequate. We're awaiting the estimates from our financial advisor, our bond counsel, the tax assessor in town, and Mr. Kelly all work independently and then come together to come up with a guesstimate of what the tax impact will be. And we want to make sure that when we say that, we're as close to accurate as we can be. So we're going to wait a little bit, but that will be out shortly, probably, Mr. Kelly, in a few weeks. We'll have that on the website. And we'll show it like the last time, if you remember, for the average assessed home, but then also break it down per, $100,000 worth of assessment. So if your house is assessed more than that or less than that, you could do the math and figure it out. And keep in mind, I want to just mention this, I think it's an important thing to mention, make sure when you look at how it's going to impact you, you look at what your home is assessed for taxes and not what you think it might be sold if you were selling it. There's a difference in that, right? Hopefully, most people get that, but it's we have to look at that. Then tonight the board's going to be asked to put this on a ballot for a September 24th referendum. If the board approves it, then we'll have multiple opportunities for the public to learn more and more details about the plan. We'll have people speaking to groups in June. The summer, of course, is a tough time, and then a lot in September. We have a committee of about 25 members of the community who have been working with the administration and a board representative on that committee to develop a plan of how to best get the information out to people. There'll be a 4-page newsletter that's going to be developed. It's going to be mailed to all homes. We're going to mail it out to everybody, not just the school population. Everybody in town will get a copy of this plan to see it, to see the brochure that will explain both the benefits and the cost. Sometime in September, we'll open building tours up to the areas where you can really see things that need to be addressed. So if you want to take a look at the gym, you want to look at the floors, you want to look at the nurse's office, things of that nature, we'll set those up. And we have a website that's been up. You could go to www.onerutherford.com, or you can go to the school district's website and look for the One Rutherford logo and click there. And it would take you to a website where there is a lot of information about this plan. So that is the presentation to give you an overview of the plan. Tonight, to the members of the board, there is a resolution asking you to approve the question that would go to the community for a referendum vote in September. And at that time, we'll discuss it if we need to more, and we'll vote. And obviously, during the open session to the public, if anybody has a comment that they want to make regarding the referendum, you certainly can. Okay? So for the board now, is there any questions? Are there any questions? No? Okay. Thank you, everybody.
So if I could just get everybody's attention, please. Again, I recognize we have a large interest here this evening. There's lots of important topics to be discussed. So we have a few things that are in the standard course of business for the board. We'll take care of that. We are going to allow for open public comment earlier in the evening, so that way we don't keep everyone here. We know there's homework to be done and baths and bedtime that need to probably happen, at least in my house, so, and others. So I'd like to just take a minute again to acknowledge all of our students and your achievements. Congratulations to you all, job well done. And I'd also like to just take a minute to thank Mr. Hurley. I'd like to thank our board administrator, Mr. Kelly, and also the public for your time, your effort, and your commitment to our community and to improving our schools. I think that there are beyond hours that have been put into making a successful referendum. So thank you. Thank you for that. So I believe we are at the report of our student representative, Margaret Lasky. So I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. So since the last meeting, there have been a lot of fun senior events that I wanted to touch upon, mostly because I was there, so I know how those went. So on Friday morning, we had a senior breakfast, which is basically a way for the senior students to have a half day before prom to get ready, but it is also a recognition breakfast for everyone, and basically they gave a bunch of scholarships out, and according to Mr. Morano, over like $100,000 were given out, way more than that actually, to the students. And basically throughout the year, there were opportunities for seniors to apply to these scholarships. Sorry. So you got to apply to them, and no one forced you to do it, but it was very important that you did them, because if you didn't do it, then you wouldn't get any. And it was really nice because people were recognized. Of course, there were a few people that were recognized over and over again because they were really great, but it was also nice to hear people that you knew worked really hard throughout the 4 years be recognized. And the scholarships really add up. They're little things here and there, and it just shows how well of a community Rutherford is, that people want to invest in the seniors going out, and it really does help. I received a few, and they really made an impact and are making college, at least like the little expenses here and there that pile up, they make them really easier. So I really appreciate that, and I know that people in my grade also really appreciated that. And it also puts you in a great mood for the rest of the night going to prom, that you just got all this money and you're so excited. So I just think it's a great little thing that Rutherford High School does, because I know that not a lot of schools do that way. So it was really nice. And the senior prom was also on Friday, and it was set up by our great class officers for our grade that we voted in throughout the years. And I know it took a long time to plan, so I like to thank our advisors, Ms. Smallsty and Ms. Gagas, for setting everything up. And it was really fun. They had a dessert bar and everything.
Where was it?
It was at the Royal Manor in Garfield, so it was really fun. I had a great time. Also, I forgot to mention the great poem at the senior breakfast. It was very rhymey, and everyone loved it, so I'd like to just thank you for that. Another thing that is happening recently was a lot of field trips. The AP Psychology class took a trip to Liberty Science Fair, which was also very fun. It was set up by the Psychology Club, and they planned everything. And we went and we got to observe behavior, like animal behavior in monkeys, cockroaches, and rats. We got to watch a rat complete a maze just from operant conditioning, which we learned about throughout the year. So it was cool to get to see it in person. And we got to see cockroaches in their natural behavior, and it was very weird at first, and no one wanted to look at them. And by the end of it, it was really cool. You got to add things into their environment and see how they would react. Like, for example, they gave us like hot lamps that we would put over them and see if they would move away or move towards them. We sprayed them with water. We put other cockroaches in there and see how social behavior worked. So that was very cool. And then we also got to see all the other stuff that Liberty Science Fair has to offer. We also, for Heroes and Cool Kids, that club that we got to do our last meeting at Pierpont School, and that meeting was focused on drugs and alcohol. And I think that was probably the most important meeting that we do all the years throughout the year. The first meeting is about nutrition and body image, and to feel good about yourself and to eat right and work out, start young. And the second meeting is about bullying and how it takes many forms and who to talk to if you think that you're being bullied. And the third one is about drug prevention and alcohol prevention. And I think that the students were very receptive, and I think it's a great program that RHS does. I remember when I was in sixth grade and they came to me, it really did make an impact, so I was really happy to pass that on. And then also several groups, because the Heroes and Cool Kids Club is so big. I think we have like 75 members, so that was split into 3, and we helped out with the field days and the fitness days, I guess, at the K Center, Lincoln School, and Washington School. I went to the Lincoln School one, and I helped with those rope tosses with like the 3 ladders, so that was also fun. And it was very hot, and I think the kids really had a good time. There's oranges and lots of dancing, and it was really fun for both us and the kids. For choir, we're going to take a trip to Dorney Park next week, as like a reward, I guess, for working hard all year and winning a bunch of stuff. So, and we also get to compete with other high schools. We get to perform in the morning and compete with them, and it's kind of like a last hurrah for me, so I'm really excited. And I also went on rides this past week with Student Council. We went to Six Flags, and we got to see other schools that were in part of Student Council, and our Student Council, advisor, Miss Leonard, was recognized for raising a bunch of funds to donate to the New Jersey Student Council Fund for charities, so that was also really nice. That was where all the fundraisers throughout the year, including like the pep rally and the coin wars, that all went to that, so that was really nice to see where it went. And so next week we'll start benchmarks, so it's kind of like finals now that it's the last quarter. So that's also kind of like everyone's really excited for that to be over, just to get over with. And then following that will be graduation practice, so that will be half days. And then graduation will be June 20th at 6:30. So that would be it for class 2019. That's kind of crazy. So that's really it for my last senior report. Everything's kind of wrapping up.
So I'd like to just publicly, on behalf of the board, thank Margaret for her hard work, her dedication, reporting to us each time that the board meets. For many of you who don't know, the student representative is actually elected by the student body. Every academic year, we have a new student that sits with us and learns about how the board does business, how motions are passed, and how various board activities occur. So I would say use Margaret as a bit of an inspiration. If any of you are interested in learning more about your local school board and the way things happen in your schools, how to affect change in your schools, and again, how to be a better, more informed student. So Margaret, we again would like to thank you, so we can get her a big round of applause, please.
Well, Margaret, on behalf of the Board of Education, we have a gift for you for the service one presents.
If you want to come forward and. See if I can do this one.
Just a few quick comments on a few things that Maggie spoke about in her report. Because being that I want to take advantage of this crowd tonight. I want to get the senior breakfast is a really wonderful event. It's held at the Fiesta. This year we had 420 people in attendance, and a great majority of those people are members of this community and surrounding communities who. Philanthropic groups, families, alumni, retired educators who worked here, who give scholarships ranging from maybe $100 to $1,000 to students for a variety of criteria. And it was $132,000 worth of scholarship money that was distributed to a large number of seniors. And I think that's, again, speaks to this one Rutherford. It speaks to this idea of a community that comes together. The breakfast used to be 40 years ago in the Elks Club, and we had maybe, school awards, the English Award, the History Award, and in those 40 years, it's grown into this sort of community event. And every year, more and more groups come forward with scholarships and ways to honor our students. So much so that the breakfast is longer than some of the orations I give. It starts at 9:30, 8:30 in the morning, and it runs to about 11:30. It's a long event, but it's really a celebration. And the second comment about the prom, and every year, as principal, and every year since I've been out of that chair, the reports we get from the facilities where the prom is held are glowing about our students. Listen for a moment. You don't hear anything, right? And look at all the young students that are sitting here. Okay? And at the senior breakfast, there's 200 seniors who are just they're in the starting block, They want to get to the prom. And they sit there for 3.5 hours, and they're respectful, and they listen, and they cheer their classmates, even if they're not getting anything. It speaks to the character of our students. It speaks to the character of our community, that every time our kids are out somewhere in public, they make us proud. So I congratulate the patience of the students here tonight and the fabulous senior class that we have graduating in a couple of weeks. Congratulations.
We are at the report of the superintendent. Yeah, Maggie, if you would like to go to finish up, prepare for finals, essays, reporting, you may leave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A very brief report tonight, since I've already given a rather long report. I do want to mention the bike rodeo that's been held last week at Lincoln School and this week coming at Washington School. The Green Team, the borough, the schools partner together and bring in folks to teach the young students in the elementary school bike safety if they can ride a bike, and if they don't know how to ride a bike, they teach them how to ride a bike. And it's really a wonderful event in Washington and Lincoln, so we thank everyone for participating in that. And with all the rain we had last week, we managed to get both days in at Lincoln, which was remarkable. For members of the board who were informed about the baccalaureate celebration that takes place, there is a change in venue. If you were thinking of going, the invitation says the Congregational Church. It's been moved to the First Presbyterian on Park Avenue, okay? Because there was a conflict at... and that, again, for those of you who don't know, the PTA sponsors it. It's an interfaith service. They invite members of the senior class. It's not a school-sponsored thing, but all the clergy in town show up, and it's a community interfaith service to wish our seniors well. And it's tradition that's happened here in Rutherford, well, forever. I don't remember ever not happening. I mentioned an executive session. I'll go over graduation tickets with you guys, the board members. And as she mentioned, high school graduation is June 20th at Tryon Field, weather permitting. And the 19th, the Union School graduation is held inside at Washington School in their much bigger gym. So that's it.
Okay. So moving on to the report of the president. I'm not the president, nor do I play him on television. I'm the vice president of the Board of Education. So I have been asked, though, by our president, Kevin McLean, to read just a brief statement, as there are so many important items on our agenda this evening. So if you would, just bear with me as I read this. Good evening, fellow board members, Ms. Lasky, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Hurley, and community members. Business travel dictates that I missed tonight's meeting, and I regret any vote or meeting missed, but some draw more attention than others, and I wanted to share some thoughts about tonight's meeting. On behalf of the entire board, I would like to congratulate the 80-plus students who have earned regional, county, and state recognition for achievement. The high level of student achievement throughout our district brings us great pride. Well done. Also, well done this past year has been representation of our student body brought to our board meetings with enthusiasm and great smile by Ms. Lasky. Thank you, Margaret. We wish you great success in all you do, and you will be missed. Resolution 1, under Curriculum and Instruction, is the acceptance of 28 grants from the Rutherford Education Foundation totaling over $64,000. To say these grants are greatly appreciated is about as strong as an understatement as we could make. There are many volunteer organizations in town that demonstrate this community's caring and generous culture. But the REF stands out with the steady and significant support to the faculty, staff, and students in Rutherford. Their selfless dedication and work has made a positive impact on our children over the years, and we thank you. Buildings and Grounds Resolution 1 might be the highest profile resolution. It is a proposal to go back to the community of Rutherford seeking a much-needed investment in our school's facilities. The facilities plan is the culmination of months and months of work by community members, the administration, and our hired professional subject matter experts. It represents the best path forward considering all we have learned since last fall. Despite the project scope being drastically scaled back, the total project cost remains substantial because the needs are great. Fortunately, we can also expect substantial New Jersey aid should the plan pass board and public approval. Although I am not present to vote on this resolution, I have participated in many hours of committee meetings reviewing as it evolved, and our committee involvement is only a small fraction of the hours invested by our administration and professional service providers in developing, vetting the revised plan. I want to voice my full support for the plan and hope the board approves it moving forward this evening. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes of meeting time. I remain with you, dedicated service to the students of Rutherford. Thank you for your continued effort and support. Kevin McLean, Leesport, France, about 100 miles north of the landing of Omaha Beach 75 years ago Thursday. So again, Kevin could not be here with us this evening, but he is certainly always with us in spirit and his support of the board and the students here in Rutherford. So With that, I have no additional comments, so I'd like to move forward to the open public meeting portion. We've noted more than once we have a significant mass here. So what we normally do at this time is we only take agenda items. So I guess by a show of hands, who is here for an item already on the agenda? Okay. Is there a couple? Okay. So what I would like to do is I'd like to allow the two of them to come first. So if you had your hand up, if you could make your way to the mic, please. I'd also like to, given the numbers that we have here, limit it to 2 minutes. For those of you who've not been to a Board of Education meeting, the other caveat I'd like to point out to you is that this is not a question-answer session. At times, the superintendent or the board may choose to have a response, but generally this open meeting session is a time for the board to hear the community and then for us to take action perhaps at a later time on a matter. So please don't take it personally if there's not a meaningful response vetted. So again, was there anyone who had their hand up for an agenda item?
You're intimidated.
Okay, it's all right. I felt like Ferris Bueller's teacher for a moment. So, all right. So with that being said, who is here for a non-agenda item and would like to speak? Okay, so if you'd like to speak, please approach the microphone. I would ask that you state your name, your address, where you live in Rutherford, please.
Good evening. I'm Justin Trelongo. I live at 147 West Pierpont Avenue. I'd like to take a moment first to thank the kids and all the parents who showed up today. Seeing you guys all here really kind of emboldens one to stand up here and give a speech. And how apropos that I'm here on a night where we're talking about improving Rutherford School District and the town of Rutherford with enrollment going through the roof. If you guys have a minute, I think I have a program I could sell to you where we get all these kids involved in. First, I'd like to formally start off. Thank you. First, Superintendent Hurley, I want to start off by thanking you. I know that earlier on in the year at a previous meeting, you kind of made a verbal statement and a commitment to help work with us to get lacrosse into the high school, which is the main reason why we are here today. That really means a lot to all of our members that you would make a pledge in public to that regard. I spent a few days thinking about what I was going to say to you guys tonight. To somehow have you unroll the magic carpet and make lacrosse a reality in town sooner rather than later. I know that will not happen tonight, but as I was thinking, I had my kids make me a special list of words that I'd love to share with you guys now. Respect, teamwork, honor, responsibility, perseverance, courage. And the list went on for quite some time. You guys familiar with those words? Yeah? I know you're all just thinking that I'm up here talking about these kids. And yes, every single one of those words applies to every single young man and woman who was intrepid enough to play in our program and who you see here tonight. But these words have a far deeper connection to tonight. These words are character traits that you, the Board of Education of Rutherford, hope that we instill in our children. Traits that we believe are so germane to forming responsible, thoughtful, and caring global citizens. You, Mr. Hurley, and Board of Education members, teachers, and administrators have all done a wonderful job educating these kids because they are excellent exemplars of character. For 5 years now, our athletes have honored the game, their families, themselves, their schools, and their town. They have done this through hard work and dedication. They have persevered and overcome every obstacle set in their way, from lack of basic fundamental knowledge to the worst weather possible, especially this spring. They have exhibited courage in trying something new, wrought with potential failures, and despite this fear, one which would hold most of us back as adults, they have succeeded, showing up to practice day after day with the desire to learn and to improve. This weekend, that commitment culminated with our 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th grade boys teams both winning championships at the Jerry Graff Memorial Tournament and our 7th and 8th grade team finishing a very respectable 3rd with a 2-0-1 record. I even think we have some hardware in the audience to show off. At this tournament, we competed against programs that have been around far longer than we have. An undefeated tournament schedule for a brand new program stands testament to the potential that we see in this room today. These young men and women honor this town and represent all of us with utmost character, and they should be praised for this. I've been a coach for 17 years, and saying goodbye yesterday to our 8th grade athletes, knowing this may be the last time they pick up a lacrosse stick, was one of the more difficult moments of my career emotionally, which brings me to my next point. As director of the Rutherford Lacrosse Association, I have been assured by representatives from the Lyndhurst Board of Education that they are very much interested in forming a cooperative high school lacrosse team with Rutherford, if Rutherford so chooses. I've also been assured that Lyndhurst will be looking into fielding a team for the 2020 season. I strongly believe that this venture is an excellent way to honor these young men in return. A 2-year cooperative program will keep these current 8th grade boys playing their skills sharp. It will give others hope to come out and sign up with our youth program, increasing our numbers at every level. It will allow the next 3 grades worth of student athletes an opportunity to participate in the sport they have grown to love, and it expedites formation of our first, very own, Rutherford High School Bulldog lacrosse team for both men and women. We, the RLA, strongly support this initiative and stand willing to help move the conversation along and work in partnership with Lyndhurst High School, Rutherford High School, and the youth programs from both towns to make this a reality. We are deeply committed to honoring these young men and women the way they have honored us, which leads me to my favorite character trait, optimism. Hope that for these kids, their efforts will be rewarded. Hope that those whose hands they rest their futures in will act wisely and prudently to provide them with opportunity. Their parents, teachers, coaches, administrators, that they will in turn act in a manner which is truly in their best interests. Mr. Hurley, I am optimistic. And while saying goodbye to these kids yesterday, I witnessed their optimism as well. Our sincerest hope is for you, this board, Athletic Director Frazier and Principal Morano, to begin talks to make this optimism a reality. These young men and women deserve that. We look forward to helping you in any way. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nikki Shearer, and my address is 22 Riverview Ave. And I just wanted to say that, like, all the kids that are here today love playing lacrosse, and it's hard to give it up. And seeing the 8th graders that are going to move on that love playing the sport, and even if they just started playing it, they still want to go on to play more. See, you can make a career out of this, playing lacrosse, so it would be nice to see if we can play it in high school. I started playing lacrosse from my cousin who had died. He played lacrosse, he was a goalie, and I decided to give it a chance. And it's such an amazing sport, and a lot of people would love to try it, and a lot of people would love to have it in high school.
Thank you. Again, before you start, so I'd like to just ask if we can keep the comments to 2 or 3 minutes, please. Sure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Chin. I live at 32 Myrtle Street. I'm the head coach of the 7th and 8th grade Rutherford boys lacrosse team. I've had the privilege of coaching these boys for the past 2 seasons and have watched them grow as players and specifically as young men. Last year was our first season in the New Jersey Junior Lacrosse League. The majority of the boys had never played lacrosse before, and as expected, we had a very rough season. We were playing against towns, as Justin had mentioned, with established youth lacrosse programs, and we were losing by 2-digit margins nearly every game. Our final record last season was 1 win and 11 losses. As a result, heading into this season, we weren't sure if any of the players would come back. this year, as well as whether we would have enough to actually fill the roster. But despite our record, we actually increased our numbers from 16 to 20 this year. After 3 months of training and gaining additional game experience, I think everyone in this room would agree with me that we are playing competitive lacrosse. We just finished our season yesterday, and our final record was 8 wins, 3 losses, and 2 ties. This is a significant turnaround from last year. Yesterday, as Justin mentioned, we competed in the Saddlebrook lacrosse tournament. We finished 3rd out of 10 teams and just missed our opportunity to play in the championship game by 1 goal. During the last game in the tournament, one of the officials actually came up to me in the middle of the game and said in my ear, "When did Rutherford get a team? You have a lot of talented players here." This comment goes beyond just the 7th and 8th grade boys team. The Rutherford Youth Lacrosse Program has so many talented athletes in both the boys and girls divisions. While the younger kids still have the opportunity to continue playing with Rutherford lacrosse, the ability for the 7th and 8th grade boys to continue developing their lacrosse skills and play for their hometown in high school will end right here if we don't move forward with the Lyndhurst Co-op opportunity. Like us, Lyndhurst has a great youth lacrosse program with a lot of talented players. Without a doubt, if we are able to combine the players from both towns, we will have the ability to compete with other towns in our conference from day one. If these boys lose 1 to 2 years of playing, the likelihood of them coming back to the sport is significantly diminished, especially as they get closer to graduation. As a result, I'm asking you to please do whatever it takes to give our boys the chance to continue playing the sport they have grown to love, as Justin mentioned, and have excelled in it. Like every other successful sports team in town, they just want the opportunity to play and represent Rutherford. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ashley. I live on 22 Riverview Ave. And I just want to say that I think that lacrosse should go into high school because so many people play lacrosse, and the 7th and 8th graders will probably really want to play lacrosse in high school. So that's why I think you should play lacrosse in high school.
Thank you.
Peter Wilson, 435 Edgewood Place. I don't have a child currently in the program. I do have 2 young boys, one going into kindergarten. I did not get the opportunity to play lacrosse growing up in this town. I got the opportunity to play in college, fell in love with the sport dearly. I look forward to the day that I can put my son into this program and see him play in a Rutherford High School jersey.
Good evening. Rick Smith, 208 Mortimer Avenue in Rutherford. Superintendent Hurley, Board of Education members. Listening to what you said earlier about 1975 and the way the school doesn't really measure up to those standards when in 1975 it was state of the art. I think the sports landscape is the same way. The activity landscape can be looked at the same way. 1975 had certain things that it brought to the table for people. In today's day and age, it's not 1975 anymore. There are more things to do for kids. There are more opportunities to explore. And certainly when you see the turnout from what we have today in this program, and I'm a very grateful parent for this program, but in terms of what these kids do every day, what they should be afforded in terms of the opportunity to participate in something that they really love, it is not 1975 anymore. It's 2019, and we would really hope that you could give that consideration to giving these kids the opportunity that they deserve. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Jill Budnich, 133 Woodland Ave. Good evening. So I'm a parent and also I'm an educator for 23 years. I'm a literacy coach. I speak a lot to my teachers. about we can't pretend that we're teaching the same kind of children that we did 23 years ago when I stood up to be a teacher. And I think in agreement with what Rick just said, lacrosse is new to us, and we've really gained so much from it. As an educator and a parent, I play two different roles, and I try to stay in my lane. But as a parent, lacrosse has given my child friendships, a safe place to be, and we chose Rutherford High School because of what came out of lacrosse. And we hope that Rutherford High School will provide the safe community, the wonderful camaraderie that he's had, the friendships, as well as the skill for lacrosse. We love to sit and watch the games and see the kids have a good time, but the group of friends that have come out of it, the sense of community, the parents and the friendships who can ensure that their kids are safe and making good choices going forward, lacrosse has given that to us. So, like I tell my teachers, we can't pretend that it's 23 years ago, 10 years ago. It's very different now. And we're all trying to reach this whole inclusive opportunity and bring our community. I think it's our job as parents, as educators, to give our children as many different diverse opportunities. And lacrosse has been an extension of the sports that we've had here in our community, and certainly it speaks volumes. The ages and the camaraderie that sits before us tonight, I think lacrosse is much needed to continue. Thank you.
Daniel Salgado and for Carlton Place. A lot of kids here have hurt themselves playing lacrosse, and they've even after that they've still played, and that shows that they don't want to stop playing. So a lot of kids here, a lot of kids on the 5th, 6th, and 7th and 8th have been injured and still wanted to play in games, and their motive to play was to be in high school and also play lacrosse in high school. So I thought that that was a good idea for a lot of the kids here to play lacrosse in high school for their bravery, like whenever.
Thank you, Daniel.
My name is Caden Cole. I live on 279 Mountain Way. Many kids have not liked lacrosse going into the season, but they have learned to love the sport. I am one of those people, but I am hoping to play the sport in 7th, 8th, and possibly even high school if lacrosse even gets to that point.
So my name is Vladimir, and I live on 175 Union Avenue. I play lacrosse, and as you can probably see, half this room is filled with lacrosse players or parents of these lacrosse players. I just want to emphasize how important lacrosse is to all of us. Imagine, lacrosse is like our family. Imagine if you were to just lose all your family one year like that. So that's what lacrosse is to us. Going into 8th grade, you know that would be your last year of lacrosse for now. And it's kind of sad when you leave that last game. You just know that you'll probably never come back to it unless it gets restored.
Thank you, Vlad.
Hi, my name is Gia Inko, and I live on 244 Mortimer Ave. And I just wanted to say that lacrosse is my favorite sport. And along the lines of what Nikki said, I think it would be such a great honor to have lacrosse in the high schools. And I was so disappointed to hear that my lacrosse tournament was canceled this past weekend, because I knew that my team was going to do great. And again, I just think it would be so good to have lacrosse in high school.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Payne Monahan. I live on 41 Daniel Ave. Lacrosse last year was a tough season for all of us. We went through a lot of losses and very few wins. And to see so many kids come back this year, and just look at this whole room, for so many kids to come back and to thrive, and for us to have such a great season from fourth to third and fourth grade to 7th and 8th, I think it would be great for us to have it in the high school.
Thank you.
My name's Aiden Doyle. And when I first started playing lacrosse, I was in 4th grade. I wasn't even going to play because at the time only Lyndhurst had a team. And so, but once I heard that Rutherford had a team, I was like excited. And if that chance was given to high schoolers, because they never had that chance when they were my age for the 7th and 8th grade team. But if that could just go into the high school, that would be great because it'd give so many people a chance to create a whole nother team and a whole bunch more friendships between people.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Noah Salgado. Like what Vlad said, lacrosse is our family. If we lost lacrosse, we wouldn't have anything to do with ourselves. We wouldn't know what to do. We wouldn't want to play any other sport. It's our life. It means a lot to us, and we would love it if it can continue on to high school. We can keep playing it. We can put our dedication into it, keep putting our dedication into it, and continue loving the sport. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Chris Conti. I live at 77 Daniel Ave. I'm here tonight as a parent and as one of the coaches of the 234 lacrosse team. I'm fortunate to say that many of our current players, I've had the fortunate ability to be able to coach them since kindergarten. So I can certainly tell you over the last several years, we've had a lot of ups and downs, and that at times it's been a bit of a grind building up the program from scratch. But this year, the 234 team, we ended the season with an overall, including the tournament, 11-1-1 record. Nice job, guys. One of my players after the game on Saturday, it was on Saturday, they said to me, he's like, "Hey, coach, am I going to be able to play lacrosse in high school?" And I said, "I don't know, but we're working on it." And of course, this individual says to me, "Well, you better hurry up, coach." So anyways, I'm here. As a coach, one of the things we're constantly telling our players is that this is a team sport, so you need to work together, pass the ball, look for help. So I'm practicing what I preach, and I'm here tonight looking to the board and to Superintendent Hurley for help. We have a great feeder program, and we need to work on an option for the high school. Whatever I can do and whatever our team can do to facilitate that conversation, we're here to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Good evening. My name is Rob Salgado. I live at 4 Carlton Place. You've already heard from two of my sons, so I figured I might as well come up here and give it a shot too. I'll point out that one thing Rutherford does not have, it does not have a location for young teenagers to go to actually be together. You mentioned earlier in the meeting that we're looking into playgrounds and funding playgrounds and improving our places. But if you're an athlete in Rutherford and you don't play baseball or run track or softball, in the spring, what do? You end up indoors. We know they play too much Fortnite. We're looking for something for these kids to do other than be indoors. There is nowhere else for them to go other than communicate online. Rutherford can field larger teams, lacrosse can field larger teams and give opportunities to a lot more players. Keep them outside, keep them engaging in activity, and they get plenty of time online. Let's take a little bit away from that, give them another option. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vinny Silvestri. I live at 260 Mountain Way. First of all, nobody said great job to the coaches, so congratulations. And if tonight having a bunch of young kids get up in front of a room full of people to speak about something they love isn't a reflection of the great job all the coaches did, I don't know what is. But last time we were here, we talked about two points and concerns that you gentlemen have mentioned. That was sustainability and competitiveness. And I think, as you've heard all the coaches talk to here tonight, it was a total turnaround. You have the advantage, if we get a high school team here, of having kids going in with experience, who are skilled, and who are winning at a 7th and 8th grade level now. So I don't understand fully what the challenges are. I know there's always a financial component to it, but they're competitive, they're winning, and this doesn't show sustainability. I don't know what does. So thank you guys.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Dunlop, 9 Air Place. When I first started playing, I was in 4th grade, and that was the start of the lacrosse program. And at that time, it was kind of unorganized. They had high schoolers and 8th graders. They had a lot of people playing, and it wasn't really organized. So if we have a high school team, I'm still thinking there are probably still a lot of high schoolers that want to play now, even after. Yeah, so I mean, if we get a high school team, all the 8th graders coming up, all the high schoolers who might want to play, might want to try a new sport, they might want to try something new, and yeah.
Thank you. If I could just interject and I certainly don't want to cut anyone off, especially not Steve, but we have to be done by 11 o'clock by law. So what I was hoping maybe we could do is have two more comments, and after 2 more comments, I'm not sure if the superintendent will have a remark to make. So we'll do 2 more comments, please.
Steve Picciotto, 223 Fairview Avenue. I wish I came up here first because they talk so well that I'm kind of embarrassed to be up here stuttering. My middle guy played lacrosse last year to keep in shape for football. He's my height. He was pushing 175, and there's a 165 cap. And that's why he played lacrosse, and he played it this year. He loves the sport. Some people don't play baseball. Some people need a fill-in, and I'm so happy that he gets to fill in to play lacrosse rather than stay home playing video games. I came home Saturday. I'm like, Steve, really? Again? 4th night? He's like, Dad, I played 6 games. I just sat down in front of the TV. I'm like, okay. You know, 'cause I was so happy he was out with lacrosse. So besides for a gap for kids who don't play football, it's also a conditioner for the football program, because it gets these kids ready for August 1st when football starts. A lot of people don't know, but I want to speak about Lyndhurst for a second, because my little guy, 2 years ago, when we didn't have a program yet, it was just instructional, he wanted to play in Lyndhurst. He never played lacrosse. He went over there. I instantly felt comfortable. They had a coach from Rutherford. They had other people I knew, and I'm like, man, I hope he does okay. Like the second game, I can hear that Rutherford coach. I don't mean embarrass his son because he's out here. I can hear him on the other side of the field. It had to be 100 yards away. Petey, did you just score that thing? And he said it so loud that I was like, wow, no wonder why Peter loves this program. So Lyndhurst has a good program. I think it would be a great thing that we come together and join Lyndhurst to start our high school program. My nephew's over there. I go to games over there. My kids play hockey there. It's a good town. And I think this is a win for us. It's going to be a good win for the taxpayers. And if there's a budgetary items, I'm sure that this group, and I'd be more than happy to help, we could raise the money to get it going next year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christina Cole, 279 Mountain Way. Mr. Hurley of the board, I know you guys usually have a crowd if you're trying to cut a sport, but I know we're trying to implement a new sport, and I think this is one of the biggest crowds we've had since the referendum meeting. So I applaud a lot of the kids because you guys are very dedicated. I'm like really happy how this program's going. To Chris and Justin, you know, coming into a new town, trying to implement a new sport when it's a big baseball town, it takes a lot of guts, and I really admire your tenacity. So the future of Rutherford lacrosse, you know, if we had a co-op with Lyndhurst, it would really be fantastic. I know there's kind of like a miscommunication whether there were talks with Lyndhurst or whether there was no talks with Lyndhurst, but I think that maybe lacrosse should be put on the agenda for June 24th, and maybe Mr. Frazier can come and speak about what does he see as the future of this program. Because, like I said, over the past couple of years, we've heard things here and there. I don't want to say specifically, but I think that all these kids that are here in this meeting really need an answer, because the future of the program, if there's no future, I know you said it's not now, it's when, but we have a lot of 8th grade kids that deserve an answer. So what's going to happen? Is it going to be a co-op? Is it not going to be a co-op? Do they have to go to a club next year? They really need to prepare because they only have over the summer and then high school starts. So for the parents, for the kids, I think there's something that you guys really have to talk about, because I would hate for these kids to go somewhere else. Just like we always want to keep our students in-house and we don't want to keep them out of district, I think that Rutherford should keep our athletes in-house and not having our kids go to another school to play a sport that we can provide in this high school. Because if it doesn't happen soon, I'm just going back to a story because, I grew up here. When I was in high school, there was only like a boys soccer team. And I remember Mr. Hoffman, he would come to every Board of Ed meeting for 2 to 3 years to promote the girls' soccer team. And he did that for every meeting. This is what I'm getting because, I'm just going off of what his wife said. Meeting after meeting after meeting, because when his daughter got into high school, I think she was the first freshman class of soccer, if I believe. I think that was probably in 2000. So he did this for 2 to 3 years. He didn't give up. He offered to pay for uniforms. They said, no, 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 no. No girls program, and then eventually it happened. So I think the story goes something like this. If the story is going to be no, 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 you're going to see a lot of these parents come to the next couple of meetings, maybe for a year, 2 years, until it's implemented, because if the parents and the kids have the drive that they have on the lacrosse fields, I really don't think anything is going to stop these kids. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to hear from our
What's
superintendent.
that?
I'm sorry, I'd asked for 2. If you can be very brief, please.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be like 2 seconds.
Certainly, sir. Please go ahead.
Mark Azzarello, Rutherford High School, class of 97. Long time ago, I played soccer for you, Mr. Hurley.
That's right.
I'm here because it's pretty interesting. I'm from Rutherford originally. I coach Lyndhurst lacrosse. 3rd and 4th graders. My team got beat by these guys, not once but twice. They played incredible lacrosse. If none of you have ever been to a lacrosse game and watched these guys play, it's awesome. And these are like 3-year-old programs. Lyndhurst is a 6-year-old program, and we're coming in 1st and 2nd. Our teams are successful, your teams are successful. A co-op team could be successful at the high school level. I think you guys should consider it because these kids, look at them all. They deserve. I'm a Jersey City teacher, 16 years. Education is more than just what happens in a classroom. It's the arts, it's music, and it's athletics. And these kids deserve it. So I hope you consider it.
Thank you.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I was the head soccer coach here, the boys for 14 years, and I was the assistant coach for 4 years before that. And I had several girls who played on my boys team because there was no girls program. And I had 2 female assistant coaches for me, one that eventually became the first head girls coach. And Christina's right, that it was a lot of knocking on the door for a long time. But the reason why the door didn't open right away was because the numbers of the girls who were playing in grades 2, 3, 4, 5 were very large, and the numbers that were playing in grades 7 or 8 and 6 were not so large. And the high school, and again, I wasn't an administrator at the time, I was a teacher and a coach, but the decision was to wait until the numbers were there at the high school level to have the girls team. Living through that experience taught me, how to maybe start a program. there were people at the time who thought that girls soccer would destroy girls volleyball, and that never happened. In fact, the volleyball team is still to this day one of the strongest in our size school in the league and in the county, and our girls soccer team has been extraordinarily successful. So there isn't a fear that we shouldn't be adding a sport because it's going to take away from another, because I think history has proven that's not the case. There isn't a sense that I look around and I see these kids who are in kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth grade. I can't sit here and tell you for 100% certainty what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone what's going to happen in 2, 3, or 4 years. But I can tell you that there's certainly going to be a lacrosse team in the high school I would say within 2 or 3 years, like I said at the other meeting, because that's where the numbers of the Rutherford kids will support the program going forward. I understand as a coach, and I also want to just mention a couple of other things. Someone mentioned a couple about Jersey City. I was a Jersey City kid, and my brother, older than me, which means he's very old, and he went to Hofstra University in the mid 1960s, and Hofstra was then and still is always a top 10, top 20 lacrosse program. And he had a roommate from Baltimore who played lacrosse, and he started playing, and he went out for the lacrosse team, and he makes his team. And nobody in Jersey City ever heard of it. We had no idea what it was. So I used to play catch with him in the summer and things like that to get him ready. And then my daughter, not the one who was a swimmer, we talked about her last referendum, but we're not going to talk about her now. My other daughter played lacrosse in high school for 4 years and played through rec, the whole program. So I'm well aware of the benefits and value and of any sport. But we have to be able to support the sport and make sure it can grow. Our high school principal, before he came to Rutherford, was the head lacrosse coach at Don Bosco Prep, which is a perennial powerhouse in lacrosse, and still is involved as a trainer in lacrosse. So it's not that we don't see the value, and we don't see that there will be a team in the near future. I understand as a coach, as a teacher, as a human being, as a father, the difficulty of, well, that's not for me next year. I get that, okay? And that's a hard one, I get that. So now we come up with this Lyndhurst co-op. I want to make sure something's clear. I don't like talking about a superintendent, a school district. I don't want somebody sitting in Lyndhurst talking about me, right? But no one from Lyndhurst ever reached out to Rutherford. This idea that everything was a go, all we had to do was sign the dotted line. Not one person ever spoke to us about a co-op program. I heard about this through the rumor mill about a week and a half ago, and I approached the superintendent of Lyndhurst, and Mr. Frazier approached the athletic director. And again, I don't want to say that we approached them and say, hey, we're going to do this, just to find out what was going on. And the answer we were given is very different from the answer I'm hearing from you people. So that is one point I need to make. We were not like, no, we're not doing it. We may have said, no, we're not doing it, or we may have said, yes, we are, but no one ever approached us on that. The second thing is the NJSIA, which I mentioned before about our student rep. I'm on the executive board of the NJSIA. My term ends in Wednesday, in fact. It's a 3-year term, so Don, I hope I get all the applause that Maggie got tonight at my last meeting down there. There's a process for a co-op program. The first part, Christina said put it on the agenda on June 24th. Well, you can't put anything on the agenda until you have a league that accepts entry of a co-op. So we'd have to go to the Northern New Jersey Lacrosse Association with Rutherford and Lyndhurst, after the athletic directors, after the principals get together and come up with a plan and say, would you accept us as a team? Now they might not, they might accept it as a sub-varsity or not. The next step then is for the administration in both schools to get together and figure out all the particulars. Someone's the LEA, someone's the lead program, and it's the Lyndhurst lacrosse team with Rutherford kids, or it's the Rutherford lacrosse team with Lyndhurst kids, and then all the funding and everything else has to be all worked out. And after all that's done, then both boards of education get to review it, and if both boards agree, they have to pass a resolution agreeing that they're willing to apply to the state of New Jersey to be a co-op. Then it goes to a subcommittee of the NJSIA that's made up to review co-ops. Mr. Morano, our high school principal, the former lacrosse coach, is a member of that subcommittee. He's on that committee that reviews co-ops. That committee then and there's an application process, several pages. You have to come up with all of your feeder program numbers going back, going ahead for the next several years. You have to go up with a projection for where the funding's coming from. You have to explain, could you have a JV program in your own school? So, for example, if Lyndhurst could field a JV in their own school, a co-op may not be approved because they could run their own program. And the reason the state has those rules in is because they don't want teams to combine, and now instead of having a Group 1 or a Group 2 school, you have the equivalent of a Group 4 school. So it's a rather stringent application that gets reviewed by the subcommittee. If the subcommittee approves it, it goes before the executive committee of the NJSIA for approval. If the subcommittee doesn't approve it, the school districts have a right to appeal to the NJSIA for a hearing. So like everything else in anything to do with education, government, organization, there's layers of bureaucratic steps that have to go through. And the process, the deadline for next year has passed. Now, that's the reality. I know that's not what everybody wants to hear, but that's the reality of how a co-op goes, and the reality that we were not even, no one ever mentioned this to us until I heard about it getting a cup of coffee in Dunkin' Donuts a week and a half ago from somebody. Now, that doesn't mean that going forward, we're not willing to have a conversation with Lyndhurst, because I had a conversation with them already. But that's the reality for now. Now, the other thing I think, look, I coached for 25 seasons here in the high school, 25 years, about 44 seasons, and I coached my kids forever, okay? I get the benefit. I was an athlete in college. I get it. I know the passion. I know the value. No one has to tell me about that. But the way the Board of Education functions, if I can speak for the board, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, and the way the superintendent of schools function is we don't recommend something to the director of athletics. We don't recommend something to the principal. I'm not running the buildings. The board's not running the buildings. So I really think, and I said this a couple of meetings ago, that a group, not a group of 100, okay, but a group of a couple of the coaches or representatives of the association should sit and have a conversation with Mr. Frazier and Mr. Morano. Because the initial conversation about a co-op should come between the athletic director of Rutherford and the principal of Rutherford and his counterpart in some other school. So, that's my response. We will have a team down the road in the near future. The chance for a co-op next year, because of the NJSIA's regulations, seem to be that may have passed, but the conversation certainly can be had going forward. Okay, thank you.
So, can I say one thing? My name's Christopher Griffin, 188 Eastern Way. I work with Justin. I started with him. I spoke to Mr. Frazier with Jen Sullivan about a year ago, and we mentioned co-oping. He said, no, we don't do it.
Okay, well, I'm not aware of that conversation.
No, you obviously weren't there, but...
But things change too. Like if you had asked me 8 years ago if I'd be superintendent, I'd say no way. Okay, but here I am. And no, so what I'm saying is the conversation can be had. Now there's reasons why schools don't like to get into co-ops, and money, control, funding, rules, regulations, loss of identity, that kind of thing. There's also reasons why the state doesn't always approve co-ops for new programs. The initial of a co-op is, the real initial plan of the co-op was to try to keep programs that were declining from going away. So if you had a lacrosse team here and you had a lacrosse team there, and the numbers are dwindling, it doesn't mean they don't approve new programs, they do, okay? So what I'm saying is, someone, said it was, it's not, I said earlier it's not the 1970s anymore, and other people have said that. Well, it's not last year anymore either. Numbers are growing, and the only way we're going to get this, unless we're going to say next year, oops, we missed the deadline again, right? The only way we have this going is to have a conversation again and see where it goes, and a conversation then with Lyndhurst. And that's the only way he even has a chance.
No, I understand, but to his point, what he mentioned before about working together, I don't know these rules. You guys do. I assume Mr. Frazier does. It would have been much better had he said, we don't usually co-op, but what are your numbers? What are you looking to do? Where do you think you can go? As opposed to just saying, no, we don't do that.
Okay. I don't want to...
If I could interject, I'm sorry.
And he's not here, I understand.
Yeah, and what we don't want to do is, we want to be completely respectful, because I have many friends, neighbors in the audience tonight, any night. But what I want to make sure we do is that we actually, we've heard you. We've heard all of you. We've heard you all very loudly, very clearly. I think as a board member, and I speak for my colleagues, we feel the passion, right? We see the trophies. We see the enthusiasm on the children's faces. I think that the superintendent summed it up very, very well. There's time for another conversation.
Okay.
And I think that there is a process. And while it won't give those students 8th going into 9th that opportunity, I think there is a process and there is a bureaucracy, unfortunately. And I think if we follow that, I think there is a pathway forward, and it's been outlined. So
Okay.
I do want to thank everyone else who came out tonight. I'm sorry, Mrs. LeBrer.
Yeah, just if I could just make a quick comment. First of all, I just want to thank all the athletes and parents and community members who came out tonight. It was really impressive to see so many of you up at the mic, and certainly the decorum throughout the entire meeting was definitely very impressive. I completely hear, as you said, the passion in the room, and I understand, Mr. Hurley, your comments about how this process should play out in terms of which partners should work with which professionals in the district. That said, I think as board members, when such a large group from the community comes out to speak about something that they're passionate about that's involved with the schools, it's incumbent upon the board members to take an interest. And to as you said, Dennis, to hear the folks in the room. So, I would ask, not because it's my role to make any sort of decision with respect to this, but I would ask whether we could, in terms of the additional conversations, think about whether there are any interim steps that could be taken. Perhaps the co-op isn't the solution, but maybe is there some other interim solution that could be taken that would at least give some sort of opportunity for continued development for the kids in the district.
I don't know what that would be, but I'll talk to Mr.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any thing that could be sanctioned, or if it would, if students who are looking to compete want to just go out in an intramural and throw the ball around a couple. I don't know. I'll have to have a conversation. There may not be.
Just for future consideration.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Is there any other board member that has a comment or a response? Okay, once again, I'd like to thank everyone, all the students, players, athletes. Thank you for coming out. Again, we admire your passion, and I believe the superintendent identified a pathway forward. I think we're just going to take about a 2-minute recess before we jump into the rest of our agenda.
Even all I say is thank you for your comments. I appreciate it.
He's acting and stuff, so you got to call for a part for like a regular 12-year-old boy, and for an ad for chemo stuff, and I was like, oh, I don't think these are good. I have to redo all this stuff.
Yeah, you're right. Oh yeah? Are you
No, I'm good. I like it better this way.
It's like every day. That's right. There'll be a line of people hiring your investment.
All right, if I could please ask board members to find your seats. Mr. Met, we're going to go live to the bean footage in a moment.
So what we did, I talked about he's going to put them in. I asked Sergio to put them in because you're doing the yeah, and then because then he also offered.
Yeah. Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. Got to get the business administrator back to his seat. I need the superintendent. Bueller.
We have Chris Conti in the audience.
Ride it out. You guys are riding it out. I'm going to ride it.
Oh, and Bonnie. All right.
Okay, moving into new business. There will be action to be taken, and I'd like to start with personnel. Mrs. Ahmed, please.
Yes, I hope this will be as quick as I possibly can read them. We have 36 motions tonight. With a recommendation from the board, we hopefully will be moving tonight. 1 through 4 are resignations. The first one is for a teacher assistant at kindergarten. Yana Martinez, Jack Maiden's number 2, teacher assistant at Bulldog, resignation. Michelle Muller, lunch monitor, resignation at Washington. And Ann Caputo is a resignation at Union School, lunch monitor. 5, Rebecca Wagner, approved for her hire as a math teacher, special ed. Alexandra Torres, approve her as an English special ed teacher at Rutherford High. Mary Beth Kleiss as a special ed teacher at Union School. 8 is Michelle Zarillo, elementary teacher at Lincoln School. Jennifer Sayre, That's number 9. Approve her as an elementary teacher at Kindergarten Center. Approval for Daniel Green as an elementary teacher at Kindergarten Center also. 12, Caitlin Jeffus. To approve her as a digital arts teacher at Pierpont School. Madison Debakian. To approve her as an elementary leave replacement teacher at Washington School. Sarah McGurran, an elementary teacher, leave replacement school, effective in September 15. Christina Luzzi.
Yep. Listen.
As a long-term substitute social studies psychology teacher at the high school. 16 is to approve Alexander Maselli as a maintenance class B in Rutherford Public School District. Dominic Vizano as also a maintenance class B in the district. It's Kevin Dopko. 18 as a head custodian at Lincoln School. Amy Musto as a long-term, to approve her as a long-term substitute elementary teacher at Lincoln School. Antonio Spadero, approved as a long-term substitute physical ed at Union School. Teacher transfer number 21, Kindergarten Center to Lincoln Washington Schools to serve as a reading specialist housed in Media Center. 22, Beth Ann Fiskin, to approve disability leave, special ed teacher at Washington School. 23, Megan Fisher, disability leave for her also, elementary teacher at Washington School. Number 23, Jonathan Evans, approve a leave of absence under the Family Leave Act. And 25 and 26 are approved. 25 is Eileen Hilberg, to work for 5 days. It's a disability. It's to work for 5 days during the summer months as a clerical assistant at Lincoln School. 26, Lynn Hebert, to work 5 days during the summer months as a clerical assistant at Washington School. 27, high school co-curricular. Approve and rescind and approve the following high school co-curricular assignments. Rescind John Briganti and Michael Fogno, and approve Michael Fogno as a director of the Jazz Band Assembly. 28, Jumpstart Program Teachers Assistants, in-district teachers assistants to provide services for the Jumpstart Program. As listed. 29, approve elementary program clerical assistant for the summer elementary program. Substitute secretary number 30, Marie DeSalvo as a substitute secretary. Number 31, substitute teachers, Chelsea Mulrain for the school year. 32, substitute teacher assistants, approve Chelsea Mulrain. What was that now? She's also a substitute teacher assistant. And 33, Jack Maiden, counseling intern at Rutherford High School, to approve him. 34, Dana Gallo, approve as an instrumental music teacher in the high school. 35, travel reimbursements for Gianna Sedler. And 36, to be resolved to approve Sean Black for assistant football coach for the 2019-20 school year. I'd like to, with the board's approval, I hope that we could move the following motions.
Is there any comment, question, or discussion?
No, other than, this is that time of year, the next couple of months, we'll be having a lot of appointments.
So someone make a motion? Or
I'd like to-
please put your motions forward.
I would like to move the following motions, adjustments, salaries, and what does it say? Following resignation, retirement, salary adjustments, reassignments, appointments, for a vote to accept the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. LeBron? Call the roll.
Mrs. Ahmed?
I'd like to abstain on number 7, but all the rest are yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to curriculum and instruction, Mrs. Jones?
Thank you. There are 7 resolutions under CNI for board member consideration tonight. Rutherford Education Foundation, or we are to accept grant funds from the Rutherford Education Foundation in the amount of $64,378.72, funding the total of 28 grants. I think that's our top one, isn't that?
Yes, yes. In terms of amount of money.
Amount, yeah.
Money.
And we're very grateful. Resolution 2, NJSIA, this is to approve summer athletic practice for RHS during the summer recess period, June through September. Resolution 3 and 4 are for curriculum writers, one for Title I program and the other for the Summer Enrichment Academy. Resolution 5 is an HIB to affirm the superintendent's decision in the investigation. Resolution 6 is home instruction for one student. And resolution number 7 is to approve the field trips, now totaling 191. That's pretty matter of fact tonight, So I move I put forth the following resolutions, 1 through 7.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments?
No, I was seconding.
Just to echo Mr. McLean's comments of thanking the REF for the grants.
Absolutely, very generous grant to the district. So is there a motion and a second?
Resolutions 1 through 7.
Mrs. Librera beat you.
I really beat you.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to finance, Dr. Racine.
There are 4 items on the agenda tonight for finance. Number 1 is the approval of bills. Numbers 2 through 4 involve the Chromebook lease acquisition and authorization and reimbursement program, which I'm going to ask Mr. Kelly to briefly explain to us.
Very briefly. Yeah, we do have the acquisition of Chromebooks in the budget for the new year 2019-20. So the first motion is actually to acquire those, and then we're also going to enter into a separate financing agreement, a lease purchase agreement, which is what the second of those 3 motions is doing. So we go out to bid on that process, and we're working through the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey with that. We are a member of them, so they can do that service for us. And then the third one is just the reimbursement, just to formalize the arrangement we have with whoever the financing company is at the end of the day to make all this happen.
Would you like to put those motions forward?
Yep, I'd like to put all 4 motions forward.
Is there a second?
Go a second.
Sally.
I believe Mrs. Librera has that again.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along to policy, Mr. Healy.
Yeah, there was no policy committee meeting since our last board meeting. We have one motion to review and approve tonight, proposing a revision to policy 6620 as a second reading, which as listed. I'd like to put this motion forward for acceptance, approval.
Is there any discussion, comment? If not, is there a second? Thank you, Mrs. Ahmed.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along to buildings and grounds, Dr. Oladi.
So there's one motion to be put forward at the recommendation of the superintendent. It's titled Submission of Special Ballot Question. You can read through the multi-page explanation. Mr. Hurley did a thorough presentation this evening, but just to summarize, the board seeks to authorize the submission of a ballot question and an explanatory statement at a special school district election to be held on Tuesday, September 24th, 2019, to undertake various district-wide school improvements. The project in the explanatory statement includes the kindergarten center, includes renovations, upgrades, and expansions to the kindergarten center, Lincoln Elementary School, Pierpont Elementary School, Union Middle School, and Rutherford High School. The total project is estimated to cost $45,330,478.
Mr. Kelly, yes.
I just have a couple of minor adjustments we're making to the wording of this, which I will reflect in the minutes. If you look at on your agenda, page 13, about a third of the way down the page, it says the board will issue school bonds to fund the project costs over a 20 to 25-year period. We're just going to change that to say to fund the project costs over an approximate 25-year period. In order to determine what the actual period is, we got to look at every component of every project and see what the estimated useful life is. So that process is still underway, but it's somewhere in the broad 25-year range. The second and last change I just want to make here is about 10 lines down under proposal. In the first sentence, before the colon, it says the Board of Education of the Borough of Rutherford and the County of Bergen is authorized to undertake the following. Just going to add the words "and all related improvements." So this will enable, if in the off chance that we get done with all these projects, we have a little money left over, we can use that money. The board can opt to use that money to do related projects, whether it's to fix a driveway that got destroyed or whatever, but something that is related. It just gives the board a little flexibility in the event there is money left over.
Okay.
Okay, so just those changes, I will reflect those in the minutes.
Thank you for the clarification. Is there any board member with a comment or a question? Mrs. McGrath?
I'd just like to join the other comments that we heard earlier in support of the referendum. I think, just as you said earlier, Dennis, I think it's definitely worth commending the level of engagement and tenacity and dedication from the administration, the community, the students, the board, to have gone through the referendum the first time and then really engaged in a very substantive and wholehearted effort to arrive at a proposal that is in line with the input that we've received and the feedback we've received from the community, but most importantly, also aligned with the most important goals that we all have for the students and for the district. So I'm very supportive of the proposals as they're put together tonight, and I think the evening that we've had here tonight, although it's been long, I think similar to Mr. Hurley's comments earlier, demonstrate the academic and extracurricular excellence across the district. And that's certainly a testament to the hard work of the students, of the community, of the school administration, but it's also a reflection of the forethought that people have been putting into the building out the programs in this district for many years. And I know many of the folks on the board have been part of those decisions along the way. So I think that we stand at a similar crossroads right now, where we can make a conscious and purposeful effort to continually improve the district and to build on the incredible momentum that we have here. So.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Renee Janowitz, who's in the audience right there. Renee is one of the associates who's with Laura Bishop, and Renee has been taking the lead in our communication plan. The flyer that you saw tonight, Renee developed that, and working with me and Joe and the committee. The PowerPoint, she developed that, working again with us in developing that. So, and she came here tonight to get a feel for what the community had to say. So I don't know if you come away with a lot about lacrosse.
You got a feel.
Yeah, it was easy taking notes tonight. But Renee and Laura have both been working diligently with us to develop a strategy going forward. And I've heard a lot of positive things about our website, and a lot of positive things about the approach. And you know, I think I think, you know, the fact that we had a full house tonight and no one said anything I always take those lack of comments as a very positive statement. If you look back over the course of the past year or two, you could count the number of positive statements we've had at board meetings versus the number of not so positive. So I'm taking this straw poll as a, we're ahead of the Iowa caucus right now is what I'm going to say. But thank you, Renee. Thanks for being here tonight, too.
Thank you. So I think we have a motion to put forward.
Yeah, so want to put that one motion forward to the board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Rowland?
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Oladi?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Cabrera?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
So moving along to old business. Is there any old
I
business?
just have one thing to
Superintendent?
mention. On May 18th, Mrs. Jones and I attended the New Jersey SBA Delegate Assembly, and there was just 3 items, standing room only. It was very crowded, I believe, right, Mrs. Jones? A new president was elected for the organization, and there was one resolution proposed regarding the state aid funding formula, which was arousing, did not pass. Yeah, and there was some bylaw changes, but that was it. But that one resolution was, I think, a lot of discussion and passionate discussion too. So no one wants to change that at this time.
I'll just add one quick comment to that. I've seen it happen in the past because I've attended so many of them. But at one point, they call for a vote if you want to extend the discussion. And the vote lost just by, you had to have 2/3 of the majority, and it was just missed by a couple of percentage points. And people were really angry that they didn't get a chance to talk. They wanted the bylaws changed and so forth. But I've never seen that happen before when the vote didn't go to extend the discussion. It was interesting.
Yeah. That's it.
Anyone else? Any other old business?
I have just one quick thing. I did get to see Susicle, and Dennis's Jack was wonderful in it. All the kids were wonderful. I enjoyed these 3 plays, I think, so much. All 3 of them were just wonderful. Get to them as, if you can, next year, put it down, because the kids really do a wonderful job.
Yeah, I agree. They did a fabulous job. Was there for all 3 shows.
And the art show at the high
Yeah,
school and the music.
incredible
thing.
job.
It was one after another, but it's very rewarding to see how the kids just do so well.
And Sergio's daughter has been,
Oh, she was phenomenal.
yeah, been nominated for a Metro Award, which is going to be
I'm sorry, what was
next
that?
week, and that's a big deal in high school plays. It's northern New Jersey and part of New York, Connecticut, in this metropolitan area.
Congratulations.
And it's like their high school version of the Tonys.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
I know she's very
So,
talented. She was fabulous. And Mamma Mia.
So she missed getting, if she had won, she would have been recognized here. So, she missed that deadline right there.
So moving
No,
on.
to say to your point, though, the plays, and the director of the high school, the co-directors of the high school, also are co-directors of Pierpont. So it's nice that they have the time, but also the idea of that program being built. With kids they start off with, and then they pick them up again in the high school.
I saw the concerts too. I mean, it was really one after another
Yeah.
outstanding performance.
I agree. Legislative update, Mr. Rowland?
I'll make it very quick. A couple of things that are on the governor's desk. These are new laws that have passed through the legislative requirements that the governor has to sign for a child abuse hotline posting in every school, and sexual abuse, assault awareness, and child trafficking awareness training. And I'll do a double update next week, or next
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Rowland.
Just a reminder on new business, I guess we're on, right?
Yes.
On legislative update, or I don't know where we're on. All right, it's late. Committee meetings on the 17th. We're going to do curriculum and instruction and building and grounds. That's the only 2 that we need right now. If something changes between now and then, I'll let you know.
Great. And then I believe the time is now 9:44
A.M.?
a.m. p.m. And I'd like to open the meeting up to the public. Not hearing any comment at 9:45 PM, I'd like to close the meeting to the public. We do have a need for an executive session.
Four student issues.
For student
So
issues.
negotiation update.
Negotiation update, and we have a superintendent.
You have that?
evaluation.
With me gone, though, right?
Yeah, we'll have to ask
I'll
the
be quick.
superintendent to leave. But I have a plan to not keep us here long, but it involves homework. So.
I got the election tomorrow.
So moved. Do you need a motion?
I need a motion.
Yep.
Okay, so we're in executive session. Greg,
Second.